All right, well, this is Trevor Crane. Welcome to our second module of Sales Mastery, and we're very happy to have a few people on the line live this morning. Not this morning. Gosh, why am I saying this morning? It's this evening now. I just wanted to we're going to do a little bit of like a structure of how we're going to proceed in the future calls that we're doing together, because we wanted, with such a small, intimate group, we want to give you guys a chance to talk with us more, connect with us more, and we'll actually teach some of our content by doing it with you. And so what we'd like to start off with on the calls moving forward for the next few weeks that we're going to be together is we'd love to hear about your celebrations and like what has been working so far. What did you enjoy the most? What did you learn? Robin likes to call them aha moments. And honey, I'll turn this over to you. We'll leave the line unmuted so we can go ahead and everybody speak, but I'll turn this over to you to see if there's anything you'd like to start with.
Okay, well, I first want to just congratulate you guys. Some of you guys have given or handed in your coaching questionnaire and also been posting on Facebook, so great job with that. It really is so important. I know you might not realize, one, in just doing the coaching questionnaire, it should help you guys. But also we really read these and we read them again and again to make sure that we're helping you guys get what you want. So if you haven't done your coaching questionnaire, definitely send that to us. Those of you who have done it, great job. And also posting on Facebook. So I know we have Kate and Irene and Marie. Some of you guys are definitely posting up there. And I know Irene mentioned, is it too long? There's nothing too long. So get on there. Interact. We really want your questions. We want to know what you want to get out of this program so that we can help you as much as we can and help you get those results. So way to go on that. I just wanted to congratulate you guys for that. And then keep doing it. If you have questions, post them up there so everyone can see. So that's awesome. So let's start off. I know we have some of you on the line. So who would like to start with a celebration, aha, something that maybe you wrote in here or not that you're moving forward on or taking some action? Who would like to go first?
This is Irene. I can go first. I don't feel like I've done enough yet, but I am starting to make a list and coming up with groups I want to zero in on that I think might be good clients for me.
Do you say groups?
Yes.
Okay, so you're talking specifically about the speaking engagement?
No, I'm talking about people to call. You had said to write down a list of people to call. That that might be.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that if I zero in on certain groups, that it might be easier because they're likely to be better clients for me.
Okay, and what do you mean by groups?
Well, like I have a new woman lawyer client, and I may have a second one coming up, and I think they may be good clients for me. I'm kind of testing the waters right now. So I can go through my contacts, people I know, but they're all not necessarily good clients. But I'm thinking if I pick a profession, then it might be easier.
Cool. Okay, awesome. So what you've done is you're creating a list, and you're starting to make some contacts.
I will be, yes. Okay,
awesome. Well, I definitely, I also want to say, because I have the tendency, Irene, to I don't know if you do, I'm just saying, it just reminded me of a time in my life when I would beat myself up and, I don't know anyone else have that challenge, but what we want to definitely capitalize on is that celebration, because I know it's so easy to say, oh, I didn't do enough, And so if you made a list, awesome. We're going to celebrate that list. And then we're going to keep moving you forward, and we're going to keep asking you for more. And, of course, we're going to push you a little bit to help you get the most out of it. But the fact that you're making a list is really, really great. And we can, at the end of this call, we can get clear on what you want to do next to move you forward. But that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question, Irene?
Sure.
I'm just curious because on our last call, and I would love to know, have a little bit of feedback from everybody. What we basically discussed was mindset and like goals, like what it is that you want clearly and what might be holding you back. So how much, as far as like getting some clarity, like what did you learn from that last call, or what has it helped you? What has it helped you with, like your mindset, or specifically what you're looking for? I mean, is it that list that you're talking about, that you have a better idea of who you're looking for, or is there more?
I want to proactively call people, or at least what I thought I got from the last call and talking with Robin is that I really need to be reaching out to people more than I am now. Like right now, all of my marketing is through networking and following up with coffee dates. The problem with that is that when I go to a networking meeting, there's only so many people I'm talking to, and they're not necessarily all good clients for me. So I'm trying to figure out, what would be a better use of my time. And so for me, a list of people who are pretty good, could be good prospects, feels like something new and better than kind of this. The way I was doing it was working, but slowly. Does that make sense?
It does. And let me go ahead then, and so thank you for that clarity. So I'm going to, I want to make sure that we're going to have an interactive call today, like I had mentioned, and I know we're going to share with everyone on the line. We don't have that many people. I think there's 2 or 3 of us right now. So what I'd like to do is, if you guys are looking at your screen, Irene, since I was just speaking with you, were you able to get the download, and can you see my screen right now as well?
Actually, I just came from a board meeting that ran late, so I won't be able to look at the screen until I get home. So.
Okay, no problem. Well, the first page here basically talks about mindset, and it's just a summary because it's kind of what we came up with on the last call. We talked about what's holding you back, what is it that you want specifically, so that you can get really clear about that in order to make it happen. And I just want to share a quick story here. I had a business when I was in my 20s, and it was a water sports business. I owned a parasail boat, and for a while there, that was the coolest thing I thought that I could possibly be doing. I was a boat captain. I started the business with a friend of mine, and for our first week, everything went great, right up until lightning struck. And I mean quite literally, lightning struck, and we had 2 teenagers, a 19-year-old and a 4-year-old, fall out of the sky. I mean, I don't know if you know what parasailing is, but it's a boat pulls people around in like a parachute. They're attached to a rope that tethers them down, and we had 2 teenagers, a 19 and a 14-year-old, fall down. The lightning melted the line. It electrocuted them. They fell into the water, not breathing. The parachute collapsed behind them. We had to fish them out of the water and literally breathe them back to life. And this was our first week of business. And one of the interesting things about that, it was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, but also it was there was a blessing in it as well. Many blessings. I mean, the good thing is those kids lived. They were fine. They had no adverse effects. We did nurse them back to health, so to speak, and then they went to the hospital and everything was okay. But the reason I'm telling that story is just that life is going to happen. I've heard when people say the example of like lightning's going to strike. I'm always thinking like, yeah, it can literally strike. And what was interesting following that event was the mindset of myself and my business partner with our current state of business. And lightning, that's a pretty dramatic example, but the truth is wherever you are in your business today, and I want to acknowledge you, Irene, for being authentic with like, what I'm doing is working to a certain extent, but if you want a different result, you now have to look at it, not worse than it is, not better than it is, but for what it is, and then what's got to change. And it's your mindset oftentimes that can affect a ton of stuff moving forward, like whether or not you think you can or you think you can't or what people will think. I mean, all of this stuff became extremely urgent and important and visceral in our lives when we were touted on the media of having almost killed these kids, and how we could stay in business after that. And the weeks and months that followed this lightning strike literally my business partner started to see things with a very fear-based negative mindset that everything was dangerous. And within a short period of time, I mean, he wanted out of the business. He thought we should close the doors. I mean, it was a few months, and everything he saw was fear and failure and not getting it right and not knowing what to say, and it was just perpetuating itself. And I was of a different mind and thought we had saved these kids' lives, and if it hadn't been us, we wouldn't have been. If we wouldn't have been there, the two of us were both. He was an EMT, and I'd worked as a lifeguard for years. So if it hadn't been us that had helped, that there could have been, those kids could have died. And so I saw everything as a solution and an opportunity. And it's not like it got better overnight, by the way. I had to buy my partner out, and it took a couple of years to grow that business. It was about a year and a half after that I finally had broken free and created more profit than I had expense. And I ended up making it was a little over $350,000 a year in that business that he quit and said we can't run. Now, that's maybe a more dramatic example than your situation, Irene, but what it is these 3 steps on the mindset sheet that you'll get when you go home is that, we give you 3 tips. Tip number 1 is to shield yourself from any negativity. And what I did in this context with my friend is that, I had to stop associating with him. He kept saying, this stinks, we're going to lose the bid, we're going to go out of business, and I couldn't tolerate it anymore. The only way to really get out of that cycle was to get rid of him. And he wanted to get rid of me too at that point, so that was fine. But you want to shield yourself from any negativity, which is number 1. Anybody in your life that's not supporting you, that you can do it. And this whole little section, by the way, is how to play a bigger game with your inner game. Tip number 2 is to stay in a place of positive expectation, believing that something can happen that hasn't appeared yet, and that you start to get excited about it and look for it like it's about to happen. Like Irene, now that you're going to target your more ideal clients in a different way, to start expecting that you're going to find your ideal client somehow. And we have a couple things we're going to share today that will be, I think, very valuable to you in doing that, like the stages of the sale. And then tip number 3 is to take some action, because it's not enough to stay away from the negative talking people or thoughts, to just think about it, and gosh darn it, I hope everything works out well. You got to take a bunch of action, and that's always what Robin and I are about. So thank you very much for your share, that you got some clarity about your current situation and how you're going to make a difference. That is absolutely awesome. So thank you, Irene.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the next celebration. Marie Papp, would you like to share?
Yeah. Let's see. We just sent out an e-newsletter after strategically placing 3 blog entries about headshots, why you need a headshot, what makes a good headshot, and then an online dating makeover story. So we sent those out on Thursday, the e-blast, and then also did some Facebook advertising and other stuff. And literally within 2 minutes of the thing going out, I started getting responses, mostly from past clients. So so there's some people that seem like they want to do something, but we haven't totally closed the sale. So it's kind of one good thing. But then one thing I wanted to ask you, there were these doctors, and they were like, oh, wow, the price seems great. They want me to do these pictures in their place, like headshots. And then they were saying, oh, but if you could just throw in a couple of shots of our office, too. And I'm like, they want it for free, throwing in. Those things can take quite a bit of time, and maybe you can help me deal with that. So, yes, there's some positive stuff, and the deal's not done, but it looks like it could be done. But people are always wanting more and more and more for free, and I'm already giving them 10% off on this little coupon special, you see. And I don't want to give them those additional room shots because we're doing headshots. It's a different thing, So
right.
Maybe you can help guide me with that at some point, whatever. So.
Well, great share. Congratulations on taking some action and getting some immediate feedback. So it sounds like, your message at least appealed to some people who said that they want it. So that's fabulous. And it sounds like it was like an education. Anyway, I need to know more about it, but that was great. I'll tell you what, in answer, Marie Pat, can you see the screen today, or are you not in front of your computer?
I got the print, yep.
Okay. Well, then I want to, since I was talking last and Robin and I kind of go back and forth, I want to turn it over to Robin, but I will share with you that this next part of stages of the sale, which we'll talk about, I think will help both of you. And it can allow you to both give a lot of cool stuff for free, you know, but also to have you understand clearly and make some distinctions about, okay, what are the new stages for the sale? Because those are all great opportunities to potentially make an upsell or discover, you know, another way to deliver on your promise, to meet and deliver on your promise. So at any rate, let me see about Robin commentary, and then we can continue. But congratulations.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I think I'll give you a little bit for that, and then I think we'll go into it as we teach some content. But I think the challenge sometimes with sending something out like that, you know, especially, you know, when you're giving a discount, is that this is what people will do. They just want a deal. They want a deal. They want a deal. So it's awesome when we use something called an anchor. You know, we anchor we anchor at a higher level, so that they already feel like they're getting a great deal. So I did look at your newsletter, but I didn't look at it that closely, so I can't remember if you had something like this. But with giving something like 10% off, I don't know what the actual price is, and I'm a little excited about that if I want it anyway. But if I don't really know if I want it, like if it's a maybe, you know, if it's kind of like I'm maybe in the market for a headshot, but I don't really care, I might not be that excited about 10% off. I might not take action because of 10% off. So if you anchored me and said, you know, like you told a story, let's say, about, you know, the sessions that you do, like some high level type of package, and you talk about how, you know, and this type of package for your individual time, you know, it costs, you know, $500. And what I'm doing is I've created a new package that's already, you know, that all it is headshot, or not all it is, but basically it is a headshot, so it gives you exactly what you need for X, Y, and Z. You know, what's the pain, what's the pleasure. And normally I charge $500, and then I'm giving it off. I'm doing a special here for, you know, $350 or something like that. So I know it's a little bit vague, but I guess what I'm saying is like you have to value yourself very high. And I know we talked separately a little bit, Marie, and when we started to think about all the time you put in and all the, like, how much you're giving people, and we like broke it down by the hour, you realize you're getting paid so much less per hour than you even thought. And so it's like getting really congruent with that, and it has a lot to do with the mindset, but like seeing your value and then, you know, realizing like what you're really worth. And it takes little steps, you know, like I had to inch up and like get higher and higher in my price, but you can always anchor it higher and then give them a bigger discount, if that makes sense. So one piece of feedback is to already give them such a good deal that they'd be crazy and kind of rude to ask for an even better deal. So in this example, when you said, you know, this guy was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. It sounds like a great price. He's kind of commoditizing you, like making you like everybody else, you know, like, oh, but I can get it cheaper.
Here's what he did. I can tell you what he did there. I did their shots 2 years ago, right? And a
little louder if you can.
I did pictures for them already 2 years ago. They love the stuff, and my newsletter happened to be at the right time when they were thinking about getting it done anyway, but one of their partners wanted to use somebody in Manhattan, so they were checking on that price or something versus mine. I don't inflate my prices. I don't believe in doing that because I'm sitting here and I'm going to email the price. I can't keep track of one price list to this guy, that guy, this guy. You know what I'm saying? I sort of deal it straight. I don't want to have to inflate it to bring it down. I don't feel that's ethical, actually.
So it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. But sorry.
It's too hard to keep track of. I don't want to work that way. So he's getting a good price anyway. It just depends on, you can always get something cheaper, but are you going to love it or are you going to like it? I just am pretty straight, and I would like to say, well, look, I'm giving you a great price on this. Room shots are a whole different ball of wax. That's like, I got to bring a tripod. There's going to be extra retouching. It has to be lit a different way. That's not something I'm going to just throw in,
Right. So two things there. One is I just want to comment on what you just said. So you don't want to inflate your prices. What I'm saying is you need to charge, I think you're undercharging right now. Do you think you're undercharging for what you're worth and the work that you give, and the value that you provide? Do you think you're getting what you're worth?
It could be a little higher, but here's the deal. The people call. The bottom line is I got to pay my rent. Nobody's booking right now. And so this is what the thing is. It's like,
So let me just give you this piece. Totally, just for now, don't argue it, okay? Just hear it and just think about it, okay? In this economy, people want a really good deal. If they're going to get if something costs $100 and they're going to get 20% off and they get $80, or something costs $150 and they get whatever percentage off and it still costs $80, they're going to want the $150 one that costs $80, not the $100 one that costs $80. I'm not telling you to change your prices or not, just saying think about your prices in regards to having different prices for different people, not at all. I think you should absolutely be consistent. I'm just saying consider, so just consider this, because this is a mindset thing. I totally get it, but we're going to I'm going to push your limits a little bit around your beliefs, okay? Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay? So just consider what you're really worth, okay? And in regards to the other stuff that you're adding, all that's included in there. You wouldn't just give away stuff for free. So the answer to that is no, you don't want to give it away for free. But we're going to teach you how to use it in a sales process so that you don't have to feel like you don't know how to react around that. But the takeaway that I want you to get, okay, and we're talking mindset here for now, is to really think about what you're really worth. What is the value that you get, okay? Don't worry about what other people are charging. I get that you got to pay your rent, and you can, in the end, you can charge as little as you want to make it happen. And just consider that you're worth more than you're actually charging. So if you anchor them a little bit higher, not to inflate your prices, because you can still charge, if it's $100 and you charge $80, or if it's $150, you charge $80, right?
Okay.
Which one do you think is more valuable?
Right, the one that's $150. Got it.
Okay, so just consider that. Can you just consider it, and you can do whatever you want, but just consider it. Sit on that for a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Because you're worth it. It's not like I'm saying, say you charge $10,000 and then it's $100 or it's $80. Think about what you're really worth, because you're playing at a much higher level.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so we're going to keep moving on, but I want you to consider that. And everyone listening, same thing. What beliefs are coming up for you? What's coming up when you think about your prices and how much you're charging, and then the action that you take around that. So really sit down and think about how many hours are you putting into, that project or the coaching or whatever your deliverable is, and then calculate out what you're getting per hour. Because I promise you, most of you, once you actually calculate every minute you spend and divide it by what you get what you get paid, you will find that you're worth more than that, and that the value that you're giving is much higher than they're paying. And so my challenge to you all is to think about what is the value. What is it? Even if you say what should it be, but you're not going to charge that yet, consider at least using that as your anchor price. Okay, and it's real. It's not made up. It's actually, that's the value, even though they don't have to pay that. Because keep using that example, 150 to 80 or 100 to 80. Everyone's going to choose 150 to 80. Okay, honey, back to you. Sidebar.
Okay. So the slide that we have up right now is called the stages of the sale, and this is just a picture of the PDF that I sent you, which is an X at the bottom of the page where you are and the target up at the top. Now, in this case, what we want you to do is to consider each point of communication as being a different stage of your sale. So, for example, Marie Papp, this will be valuable for you. the promotion that you just put out, you said you ran some Facebook ads. You also submitted like an email blast. And then also your newsletter. Is that right?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So that's one point of communication where you reached out to talk to the world, whether it was any one of those or even when you go networking or whatever it is, that's your first point of communication. Now, you now get to choose what the next stage of your sale is. So in this example, you had them send you an email back, or how did they get in touch with you?
Some people responded most of them responded via email. If their interest, Mm-hmm.
And what was your call to action? So you got an email back. What your promotion, the communication that you put out in this initial stage of the sale? You said, what did you
call to book your session? There was a 10% off coupon. Called to
mm-hmm.
book your session by May 9th. So we're coming up on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's call to book your session. So this is the next stage of your sale. Now, this is pretty basic, but everybody needs to go through this process because we get confused sometimes. Like you said, they hired you for the headshot, and then they asked you for an upgrade, basically for free. What else can you throw in? Which is a great part. So let's just talk about how you deal with that. So this initial point is you send a message out. That's your first stage of the sale. I had a client one time who was walking into doctor's offices, and so her first stage of the sale was to talk to the gatekeeper or the receptionist and say, "Hi, how are you? Is the doctor in?" So then she needed to have clarity about what the next stage of her sale was. Like, what did she need to clarify? So in this case, her name was Ellen. Ellen would discover, her purpose of, once you walked into the building, she then had to say, okay, let me set the appointment with the doctor. And ideally, she was looking for her next stage of the sale, which in this case, she wanted to see them for 2 minutes. So she had to be very clear about her communication. I'm here to see the doctor. I would like to speak with him for 2 minutes. Does he have time now, or would be lunchtime be better? Like, he gave her an alternative closing question, like now or later, something like that. And if she couldn't get those 2 minutes in front of the doctor, then she would say, well, when can I? Because she didn't say, can I or can I not? She said, when can I? And so she had to come back at noon or the next day or whatever to do that. She would. And then once she got the 2 minutes, her next stage of the sale was to schedule 20 minutes. And so she just went from appointment to appointment to appointment, or stage. She had to walk in the door, get 2 minutes, then 20 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, she was looking for either the sale or a partner or a referral, something like that. Now, in your case, you put a message out and you said, call me, and they called or emailed you back. And now the purpose of that is to set the appointment, which is so cool. I think if you break down business down into two simple principles, it's about setting appointments and keeping appointments. So in this context, you said, who wants to set an appointment with me? And that's first stage. Second stage is they set the appointment. Now, during that call, in this case, you're now in your, when you're setting the call, now you got to decide what this next stage is. So in this regard, when they're basically, you said, call me to order, right? You said, this is my promotion. You can call me to buy.
Right. But what they did was they sent an email back saying, oh, we're just thinking about it, and, well, they wanted a price. They said, here's what we want, give us an estimate, because there's another guy we're considering. So then I wrote them back and gave them, here's your option A or B, blah, blah. And then they just wrote back saying, sounds good if you can throw in a couple of these other things, and when they want me to stop by their office to go look at the place and figure out what time would be a good time to do the shoot. So obviously then I'll go back and I'll talk to them, but then I have to figure out I'm not giving them this other thing for free.
Got it. Cool. So this is also in line with what do you sell? So one of the first things I talk about when I'm working with anyone is I want to know, what do you sell? Like, what's all the stuff you sell? And in this case, you sell photography. Now, we can be more specific about that, but that's the general term. One of our one-on-one clients right now is an infant photographer. And, she does pictures of the newborns. And so she did some media just recently. She was on television on a few different times, and she has got some trade shows scheduled where she got a lot of business from last year. And so we're talking about her stages of the sale as well. And similar to you, people have emailed her and said, what's your price?
Right.
Now, she doesn't really like competing on price. She's more than some and less than others, so she's kind of middle of the road. She's maybe a little more on the high side. I don't know exactly. But the thing is that that's not the stage of the sale she wants to be in. She does not personally want to be emailing back and forth about price. Now, we can't always control that. Sometimes the client is going to be asking for that, and you have to be prepared with what your answers are. So you can improve the communication at each stage, but you want to have clarity about what you want next. So for her, for example, when she gets an email from somebody or a phone call that says, I'd like to book you to come do my newborn, her next stage of the sale is to set an appointment to have a consultation. And so if you want to do the same, I would highly recommend that that's one of the stages of the sale you want, so that you know with absolute clarity that you want an appointment with them to have a conversation. And doesn't mean that you'll always get it, but you want to know what it is. So when they ask you the question about price, you can go, well, I'd love to talk with you about that. I usually do that typically I will answer that question when we have a phone call. So when is a good time for us to speak? Now, if they ask you again, you better answer, because you don't want to not answer the question or you're not being respectful. So I think there's a fine line, but I would say my prices start at $4 and go to $4,000. It depends on what you need. I would love to have a brief consultation with you to take about 15 minutes. Typically I would charge, but I'm not going to in this case because I just want to see if it's a good fit for us to work together or whatever. But I want to answer the question to try to still push them to the next stage, because it depends on where you are in your sale. But this is the point. You don't want to just let it happen to you and get yourself caught up in a conversation that you're not prepared for, because the purpose of each stage of the sale is to do nothing more than to move them to the next stage. And it can go a variety of ways. I'm not saying people won't throw you for a loop, but you want to do your best to take them to the next stage. Is that helpful so far?
Yeah, I encounter that all the time because I also do baby photography, and lately it's been really tough booking those because they're constantly asking for the digital files, and a lot of times they don't want to meet, and I tell them, well, we need to have a consultation. They're just sort of gunning, what's the price, and I think that seems like the main factor for them, And they're not really the clients you want.
Well, so the challenge becomes, how can you ask the right questions or give the right education and information in such a way to shift their focus away from price and into where you want it to be. Now, there's not a perfect solution. You're going to have to find out the way it is for you, but it's in this case, and I want to move on because, there's 8 or 10 steps in this little visual. The point is the target is your sale. That you make the sale that you want to make, but then the truth is if we shot, there's always the next sale, the next sale, the next sale. Because when you first told me that this guy wanted shots of his whole office building, if you knew, I would love to help you with that. It's not typically something that I throw in this package, but if we talk real briefly, I can we can find out what you need, and if there's something that I do that I blah, blah, blah. So instead of getting feisty with somebody when they tell me they want something that's not inside what I want to give them, I just get real curious and say, wow, I would love to help. I totally would. I think that's great. Let's talk. Because the whole purpose is I got to get them on the phone. To find out the next stage is we're going to talk to you about the ultimate sales formula and what you say. Because to us, the whole magic happens when you're talking to them. And you're right, if someone's just beating you up on price, give them the price, but have in your pocket, or you need to get in your pocket some things you can say that get them to want this consultation with you. Are you in agreement?
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Trevor?
Sure.
Okay, so if I'm approaching people cold, or maybe through a referral, so maybe so-and-so suggested I call you. I'm offering people an in-person conversation to go over their business and their marketing and all that. But they're not necessarily looking for it in that moment. I have no idea if they're looking for it or not. So, Robin, and we talked about, like, how do you have that first conversation, that phone conversation?
Okay, so now help me with the first stage of it. I'm sorry, you said you cold call someone?
I would be cold calling or slightly warm calling, saying that, John Smith, said I should give you a call. I have a new program, blah, blah, blah.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm so glad you said that. I'm going to skip forward to give you an answer to that. So I'm going to are you looking at our screen while we go forward?
I'm not, but I'm taking furious notes.
Okay. So we're going to cover the ultimate sales formula today. Robin's going to share with you about how we came up with this high, why, try, buy. I think everybody has heard that part of the talk, but we want to help you sculpt your own. We're also going to go over rapport skills. Let me go down here a little more. The why notes. So we're going to go over this process called ask, align, associate, and are you ready? So this is for everybody. Ask, this is page 6 of Module 2's handout. Ask, align, associate, and are you ready? Are like 4 A's. And so the first A is ask. So in this case, the person asking the questions is controlling the communication. So this is in every, as much as possible, you want to start asking questions. Now, when you're going to cold call someone, you want to understand the next stage of your sale. I'm going to cover that just next, so just bear with me here. So you want to ask questions to find out what somebody wants. This is kind of during your consultation if you get the chance to get there. And I'm with you that I kind of didn't answer your question directly, so I apologize. But you want to ask questions. You want to not judge them or make them wrong, but the second A word is align with them. You want to align with them and just understand where they're coming from. And then the fourth A word is that you want to help associate. You not you so much, but you want them to associate to their current situation, what they either want a lot or what they don't want, pain and pleasure. We'll go over that in a bit. And then before you make any offer, you're going to ask the questions of, are you ready? Now, this is all relevant to the next slide, slide number 7, and we call this the Make Money Song. So I'm sorry, who was that just asked the last question about your consultation in regards to marketing? I didn't catch you.
Irene.
Not good. Irene. Okay, so Irene, we've got a slide here called the Make Money Song, and this actually, I have similar phone calls I'm going to make this week to do the same thing you're doing. They're either cold calls, not really, they're warm, or referrals, and this is all I'm going to say. Now, there's a difference between exactly what I say and the structure of what I say, but I'll give you the script now, and the script is kind of like the structure. How you decorate it will be your language, and that's appropriate to your business. But in essence, the song goes, and we did it a song because we sang it to music. I'll do that in a second, which will be embarrassing, but I'll do it anyway. It's, hey, Joe, it's me. And if you're following along on slide 7 or page 7, then you can fill in the blanks. Hey, Joe, it's me. Are you busy? Is the second sentence. The third one is, can you do me a big favor? And then the fourth one is like booking the appointment, like when do you have time for us to meet? In this case, when we sing the song, because I taught this to thousands of salespeople, we made it into a song, a row, row, row your boat. We would say, when do you have 15 minutes in front of your computer? So the way the song goes, and this is what I do every single call I make when I'm looking to do one thing and one thing only, because the next stage of the sale is the appointment. I don't want to do anything else other than set the appointment. When do you have 15 minutes in front of your computer? Or when do you have time for a consultation? Or when can we meet for a cup of coffee to talk to you about XYZ? Or when do you have time for us to talk about the photography I'm going to do at your whatever? Doesn't matter what it is, it's setting the appointment. So the Make Money song goes like this. I'll embarrass myself. It's okay. Robin's the professional singer, not me. So it's, but it's row, row, row your boat, so it's not that hard. So, hey, Joe, it's me. Are you busy? Can you do me a big favor? When do you have 15 minutes in front of your computer? And I know it's silly, but we taught this to thousands and thousands of people because they didn't know what to say when they were trying to do exactly what you just said, set an appointment with someone. And they get confused. They're like, I think I'm trying to sell them, like I'm making this call because I want them to buy my program. That is not accurate. What you first want to know is you want to tell them who you are. Hey, Joe, it's me. This is, hey, so-and-so, I saw you at a networking event, or Susie told me to call you. My name is Trevor Crane. That's the introduction part. Hey, it's me. The next one is, are you busy? Which is a polite way of, like they'll see either yes or no. You can control this part of the communication. And I do this every single call unless I add the decorations to it. And I use other language but do the same thing. Are you busy? Like, are you busy right now? Or because, they're definitely busy. They're running a business. They have the kid in the background. They're cooking something. So you're assuming that they're busy. They're either going to say yes, they're busy, or no, they're not. And I promise you they're busy, so 99 times out of 100 they will lie to you even if they say they're just – very rarely are people waiting for you to call. So you would say something like, oh, are you busy? I'm calling to such and such. Would you do me a big favor? May not be appropriate for the cold call, but, it's cool when you're calling a warm call. Would you do me a big favor? Or Susie gave me your number. She said that we should talk. Would you do me a big favor? When would you have some time to chat? And you can set up a business call where you're trying to sell them, or you can just set up the time to chat. It doesn't matter, but all you're doing, and I'll give you the example going back to my friend Ellen who walked in the doctor's offices, we had to be very clear with her that she wanted 2 minutes to talk to the doctor. And then the 2 minutes was supposed to sell the 20-minute. The 20-minute was supposed to sell either the hour or blah, blah, blah. But it was stage, stage, stage. So is that help? Does the Make Money song help give you clarity, Irene, around that in regards to the marketing part or that appointment?
Yeah. I can't say it would feel comfortable yet, but yeah.
So let me chime in here. Oh, go ahead.
I think that normally I don't set up coffee unless people seem interested, and when I do, it's more like, well, we'll network. You tell me what you do, I'll tell you what I do. But if I'm just calling people off a list, then it's more like they're going to want to know what I'm up to, and I don't want to have that conversation yet. So
then
why are you inviting me out for coffee? Are you selling me something?
So, and you're selling them, what are you selling?
I do marketing systems for people. I help them identify their ideal client, and I write copyright stuff for them, and, I just do, like, marketing systems for them and, identify referral sources, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so if I was to buy something from you, what would I buy?
You would be buying a marketing toolkit and the skills and practice of how to use it. It's a repeatable system to bring in more clients.
So what does a toolkit mean? What does a toolkit mean?
Tagline, what to put on your business card, the 15, 30, and 45-second elevator pitches.
Oh, you're going to help me figure that out.
Yeah, I take like 2 months, and I build all this stuff with them and for them.
Got it. So you're selling me a 2-month program so I can master my marketing in regards to ideal client and what to say.
Yes, and it's for women, and it's very soft sell. It's more indirect selling. It's not direct selling at all, because I don't know how to do that very well.
Okay.
So yes.
You mentioned, and honey, I know you're busting the chat here, but let me just get some clarity before we do tradesies. Irene, then you are, you're hoping that you can. I mean, what are the stages of your sale right now? Like, what's a typical stages of the sale when you get a client?
I invite them out to network over coffee. I get them talking about their business. then, I ask them great detail about it. I get to their passion and all that. Then, they'll turn around and say, what do you do? I will briefly tell them what I do. Then I'll tell a story, a marketing story, to kind of show them, I'm so great, I did this, but I do it very soft and indirect. And then usually they will ask me about my prices if they're interested. And then I go through my different programs.
Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so you're waiting for them to ask you. So you have a casual cup of coffee. If they ask you what you do, you'll tell a cool story about yourself, and hopefully a cool enough story that they'll ask you what your prices are, and then you'll give them.
Yes, and it works pretty well. But you have to go to networking. You have to get the appointment.
Cool.
I'm not reaching enough people.
And so let's say that you did your mojo with someone for 2 months. What would they benefit from your assistance if they at the end of 2 months they would get what?
They would know exactly what to say, do, and write in every situation to bring in more clients and more of their ideal clients. And they would feel, it's geared towards women entrepreneurs who hate marketing and sales. So it would be within their comfort zone. That in 2 months they would know what to say, do, and write, and just repeat it over and over again.
Okay, this is awesome. So you want them to, you're going to help them create what to say that would make them feel comfortable in future situations that would attract their clients.
Right.
Okay, cool. And you said you're basically getting these leads through networking.
Yes.
Okay. So I actually have some coaching and suggestions in and around that, but now I want to give Rob a chance to comment and interact, and then I will go back to your situation in regards to what I think the stages of the sale could be.
Thank you.
But thank you very much for sharing. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Honey, why don't you just keep going? It's cool.
Okay. Did you have any other? Are you sure you don't have any other questions right now, or?
It's okay. You're on a roll. Go, babe. You go get them.
Okay, cool. Well then, Irene, I would say that you and Robin and I are in a very similar business, and I actually see many people in a very similar business. I mean, Mary Papp, you're basically, you can be a photographer or you can be like a consultant. Somebody who really tries to, discover what's going on for somebody, what they really want, and how you're solving their problem or giving them some amazing solutions. So I would suggest that everybody start to consider themselves with a new identity of a trusted advisor, that you become someone's trusted advisor. And if you want to take on a role I think that you're all very well suited to, it would be a highly paid trusted advisor. Because you can be a poor trusted advisor, but people who pay you a little might assume, like if I told you that I was paying a little for a car, like I had an $800 car outside, you would probably have an idea about what that looks like. Whereas if I told you I had an $800,000 car outside, you'd have an idea about the quality of that car. Doesn't mean that I couldn't be driving a Bentley for $800. Maybe my uncle sold it to me for $800. He'd be crazy, I guess, but it's possible. So price does not necessarily mean value. But I would challenge each of you to consider yourselves as highly paid, trusted advisors. And if that were the case, if you think of the best people in your industry, they probably consider themselves as such. That'd be my guess. But I'll give you the stages of the sale that Robin and I would have if we were going to networking events. Would that be helpful for you, Irene?
Yeah, but also just calling from a list, because you don't necessarily meet as many people at a networking that you do when you just have a list.
Okay.
So, yeah, I want to be better at networking, and, well, I'm just saying that because that's what I thought I should be doing, calling from a list. Maybe I don't have to. It should be fine by me.
Well, so here is the truth. Robin and I have several mentors, and a friend of ours we had a consultation with recently, and he said, Trevor and Robin, we were on the phone with them, and he said, what do you sell? And so we told him. And although we could say it pretty succinctly, he still challenged us to say it even more clearly, cleanly, and concisely. And then he talked with us about how much we charge. And he challenged us to increase our fees if we believed that we were creating tremendous value for people. And so we picked a fee in this regard that was appropriate to us. And then he said, okay, how do you get your clients? And so we told him the variety of ways that we get our clients. And he broke it down to even simpler terms. Now, we knew this, but it was interesting, when someone else is helping you with your business, you can see it in a different light. Yeah. And we broke it into even a more simplistic perspective that regardless of our initial ad, okay, our initial marketing, so whether we were going networking, speaking on stage, giving a webinar, putting direct mail out there, blah, 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 all of these things that we really started having a client conversation, we needed to set an appointment with somebody and have a person-to-person communication about whether or not they wanted to be a client. And everything else is foreplay, and it just doesn't really matter. It's got to be something he said, hey, why don't you do the stuff you like? If you like speaking, do more of that. If you like networking, do more of that. If you want to not do that stuff, then do some direct mail or do this, and he gave us some other options where we could have people just agree to have a one-on-one consultation to see if there's a good fit. And so everything for us, when it comes to networking, we go out to network, and all I'm looking for, and this is, are people that I might want to work with or who know someone that I might want to work with. So that's first of all, and that's if you're doing marketing and advertising too. You're trying to see who responds to this ad. And you try to write it in such a way that the people that want to work with you want to do it. So then as soon as there's any curiosity at a networking event, for example, if I'm just meeting someone in that context, I want to have a cup of coffee with them. So that's my next step, cup of coffee. And by the way, I would use slide number 2 on this, and I'd write that in there. Go to networking event, have a cup of coffee. Now, the cup of coffee is to do one thing and one thing only. It's to see if they want to have a strategy session. So we've got names for things so that we know clearly what they are. So we'll go to networking event to find people that we might want to get to know better and have a cup of coffee with. The purpose of the cup of coffee is to find out about them, like you did or do, and then to have them find out about you. But by the end of that meeting, I am very clear. I know exactly what I want. I am not just there to get to know you. It is fabulous to get to know you, but I am also here to discover whether or not you want a consultation with me. I don't exactly say it that way, but that's what I'm, in a selfish perspective, what I'm looking for. Like if I do some discovery and ask them questions and find out they might need some help with something I can do, I will then ask, align, associate, and are you ready? I'll use those A's. I'll ask them questions to discover what's going on during the cup of coffee. I will then go ahead and say, and then I will align with their situation, their pain and pleasure. We're going to get into that in the sales conversation. And then I'll go, you know what? Gosh, it really seems like that. I'll get them to associate to it, but then I'll just say, would you like to I could actually help you with something like that. If you were interested, would you like to have a conversation about that? Great. But I know clearly and cleanly that I want to have a strategy session with them. And I can give it away for free. We typically charge for that, but I can say, you know what, you seem really great. I would love to have a conversation with you to see if there's some way that I could help you. And if not, that's cool. But would you like to have that conversation? Now, this is a direct question. You said you don't like directness when it comes to sales, but this is just you knowing what stage you're in. In the cup of coffee, you're just getting to know them. It's all niceness. But if you set an appointment to have a conversation with them about their business, this is, you just moved into professional land. And then at the end of this conversation, we're going to teach you the ultimate sales formula in perhaps more detail, but you go right into your scripting so that you can, make the sale. And at the end of it, if they want to buy from you, you give them permission. You don't close them. You don't use something, jerky, but it's really just that. It's as soon as you can for us, it's appointment, sale. Like a strategy session. And then after that strategy session, we're going to leave the strategy session with either a new client or not a new client or a referral or someone that I'm going to, like another appointment is what we say. And it doesn't matter if you have 10 follow-up calls with this person. But just as long as you're having cups of coffee with them, which is a very cool way that you're already looking at that, Irene, that's a casual conversation as a cup of coffee. It is not business. When you want to turn it business, ask permission. Hey, would you like to have a business conversation to see if there's any way I can help you? And if they say no, great information. Don't feel bad. Like they didn't want it, that's cool. Or if you don't even want to ask them for it, you can say, hey, would you know anybody who would like to have a consultation about their business? So it's really those stages of the sale. Now, you can stay in the get-to-know-you phase of cup of coffee as long as you want. You can build friends at the networking events as long as you want. Or you can start just knowing stages of your sale and saying, hey, I'm here to meet somebody cool. Would you like to have a cup of coffee, get to know about each other? Maybe there's a way we could help each other. Then you set another appointment of let's really talk about it. And maybe you can become their client. Who knows? So is that helpful, Irene?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I was doing everything over the cup of coffee, but this sounds a little clearer. Like the cup of coffee could be more just laid back, and I have to stop myself from going right into consultant mode in the cup of coffee because that's what I do.
Yeah, we're going to cover that. I'm sure Robin's going to teach part of that, and I'm looking at our time. We're into the hour already because we've been chatting so much, but I think this is pretty valuable because it meets everybody where you are and giving you a distinction about the next step. Like the cup of coffee, I'm sure you guys are all great with. You're loving, caring, networking people. You know, what I would recommend is you want to set appointments. So just write this down. Set appointments is half of the business, half of your business. Setting appointments. The second half is keeping the appointment. And on each appointment, you want to you'll either leave there with a client or a new appointment. And just set.
I'm adding in. I'm getting in. You done?
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead, honey. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to add, so when you're in that cup of coffee, really your main goal is to get to know them and to create curiosity. So the key word is curiosity. And Irene, you mentioned that how it opens up so that they might want, once you've told them like what you do, and they kind of are thinking, wow, I might want to work with this woman, then they typically say, well, how much do you charge? So the way to address that is that you want to still create the curiosity. They're curious, but if you give them the answer now without getting their really truly digging into their pain and getting very clear about their pleasure and what they really want, then you're potentially hurting your sale, like they're hurting them because they might not have a chance to work with you. Because if at that point when you give your price, there's not enough leverage for them to say yes, then it becomes a maybe, and then it becomes, oh, I don't know, because they're not ready to make a decision, and they're kind of just pricing you out. So a lot of times when that happens with me, I will answer the question, but I'll give them a range, like Trevor mentioned earlier. So, for example, if you're in a cup of coffee and you tell them what you do, and they're like, oh, cool, well, how much do you charge? And you go, oh, that's great question. Are you curious because you want to know for yourself? Or are you thinking of someone else who this might be a fit for? Because why do they want to know your price? Are they got to know if it's for them or for someone else? And so they might say, oh, well, I was just curious because, I don't know, I might want something like that. And I would try not to say the price at all. And I would say, well, that's a great question. I mean, the best thing that we can do would be to set up another appointment where we can spend time, and actually I could really get to know your business at a much deeper level, and I would even provide you with a business assessment or whatever you call it. And typically I charge $100 for this session, but, you're awesome. I really enjoyed hanging out with you and getting to know you, so I'd love to just, take it to the next level. So would you like a business assessment? And then we can talk about price and what's right for you, because I have no idea whether it's even a fit. So I usually will take it away. So and then if it gets to, well, they really want to know your price, then I would say, well, we charge anywhere for one-on-one clients. We can charge as low as $500 a month to $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month. It really depends where you are and what you need. So, would you like to just sit down and talk about how this might work? And, if it's not right for you, I promise you'll get a ton of value out of it. Something like that. Because, you know what I mean, they'll want some sort of a range. Does that help you at all?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Trev's getting into the Ultimate Sales Formula. So I'll start introducing this. So most of you have seen this before. Most of you are here because you saw this and you wanted to go deeper. So we're going to give you the formula just in case you haven't heard it or haven't heard it in depth. And as we go through, we're going to do some examples so we can actually use your examples for the two of you and see how we can apply it right now so you can start to craft your script. So, honey, do you want me to go into it, or? You're muted. Does he know he's muted?
Okay,
I don't know where
sorry.
he is.
I didn't know I was muted. I was talking. I said some amazing things.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So, Irene and Marie Papp, you guys have seen this slide before, and you did this with Robin, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So high Y, try-buy, guaranteed and bonuses came from a time that Robin, there were twice that she went in for facials in like a 3-month period of time right before we got married. One time they served her very well, and she left the facial having spent a lot more money than she had planned. She went in with a coupon, but she had extra needs. We were about to get married, and she wanted some help. And one time, people basically asked her these questions. They said, "Hi, how you doing?" They found out why she was there. They then really listened to her pain and pleasure, and then they offered her a couple of packages based on what she said. And lo and behold, she bought it, and she was thrilled. The truth is that this is a phenomenal structure for your sales conversation. Now, you guys already know that. So here's my suggestion, Robin, is that you've already given them this in the Sales Mastery seminar when you met them, face-to-face. Would you like to do more scripting and pick, someone to do this with, and they can, more script out their sales formula?
Yeah, we can do that.
How would you like to do it? Okay.
One of you would like to give me a scenario, and I'll be you, and you can be your client or your potential client. Who wants to go?
I'll do it.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit louder? I have trouble hearing you a little bit, Marie.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll talk.
Yeah, it's just a little soft. So give me a scenario where you would actually be in a sales conversation. So this is actually in the stages of the sale. If you were in a cup of coffee, you're already moved into a sales conversation where, let's say, a wedding, like maybe a higher price ticket item, where you would want to, where you'd have the opportunity to talk to them about what they want and give them an offer, make them an offer. What would be a good scenario for you?
So like you're saying, if I met a wedding client, they're at my studio and I'm meeting them, you mean? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, something like that, that it's like you have an opportunity to have a sales conversation. So, yeah, they were curious and they came to talk to you about whether or not you're going to be their photographer, right?
Okay. Right. So basically they come in and you make some rapport with them, and then I do ask them what is most important to you about your wedding, just so I get a sense of, what's important to them. So I really try to find out a lot about them and about their wedding, and then I show them some of my work. And then what do I usually do? It could take like 45 minutes, even an hour sometimes. They're looking at different pictures and they're asking different questions. A lot of times they get into sort of timeline, and then I tell them, well, that we discuss at another meeting, because, I know they're seeing different photographers, and they're, I'm not going to go into all that detailed stuff if they're just, doing the first meeting with me.
What do you mean timeline?
They a lot of times they'll sit here and ask a lot of questions as far as that get into like what we do in, say, it's called a planning meeting. After you book me about a month.
Oh, okay, but they haven't paid yet. They haven't put down a deposit.
Yeah, and
do you ask for a deposit?
Well, what I do is at the end, I do tell them something like, I cannot. What is it? I say to them, I'm the only photographer in my company, so if you wanted to reserve the date, I would need a deposit to hold the date. And then, once if you officially want to book me, then it's a signed contract with a retainer. So a lot of times, yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And go ahead.
Well, a lot of times what they'll say is, well, you're our first stop. We're still looking. Yeah, you don't want.
Okay. So don't tell me everything yet. We're going to do role play. Okay. You're going to be them. I'm going to be you. Do you want to tell me your price and what you have them do a deposit at so I can do the real deal, or do you want me to make it up?
Let's say there's one package it's like $5,800, but if they want to just leave a deposit to hold a date, that could be $300. If they want to totally book
$300 to hold the date. Okay, cool.
Hold the date for yeah. And I tell them I can totally refund it too, because you're trying to if they do commit to holding the date. 95% of the time they're going to keep you. Okay, great. Let's do it so we can let's go into it so everybody can hear it. Okay, so I'm going to do a little rapport, but not a lot. Okay, and so in the interest of time, I'm going to try not to go too deep, but I want you guys to get the feel of it, because if I really went deep, it would be, like you said, 45 minutes later, and you'd be sending me money. So okay, so I'm going to mostly skip rapport, but hi, how are you? Nice to see you. How you doing, Marie? I'm great. How are you?
Great. Well, thanks for coming in. I'm so glad to meet you. Can they be a referral? Are they usually a referral? Sidebar here?
If this one here, they found my postcard in a bridal shop.
Okay, so here we go. So, Marie, so welcome to my shop, and tell me, how did you hear about me, and what made you curious about coming in?
Well, I saw some of the postcards at the bridal shop in Morristown, and I liked what I saw, and I figured I'd give you a call. Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that, and it's always nice that you see those things, they actually work. So come on in and have a seat, and tell me a little bit about your wedding. When's it coming up, and how long have you been engaged? Okay, well, my wedding's next June. I just got engaged about a month ago. Wow, congratulations. Thanks. And we're going to have a wedding at, it's a tented wedding in a friend of mine's estate. Wow, so tented wedding. That sounds great. Cool. So, what I'd really like to do is get very clear to see if this is a fit or not, what your concerns might be, or what challenges you think you might face around that, so I can see if I can help you out. Because, yes, I can take amazing pictures. You obviously saw the photos, and you know how incredible it is. But the question is we also want to make sure that the day goes the way you want it to, because you're the bride, and you're the most important person. So I want to make sure that goes well. So, tell me, what are your potential concerns? Like with hiring a photographer, what are your potential concerns or potential challenges that you think you might face? Well, I really want to make sure I look good. I'm really self-conscious about the camera and being in front of the camera, and that's one of them. And I don't want somebody following me and telling me what to do all the time either. Okay, that is really good information. So you want to make sure that you look good, obviously, and that sorry, I didn't write this down. So you want to make sure that you look good, and you don't want someone following you around. Is that what you said? Yes. Have you heard stories just about, go ahead. Oh, yeah. I was at another one of my friends, and this guy, he just wouldn't leave us alone. I was just like, oh, my gosh, he's so in your face, and it was just, he was kind of barking at us. It was pretty obnoxious, so I don't want that. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so you don't want someone following you around and walking in your face, get it. So also, I'm just curious, when you say you want to make sure you look good, do you remember just as a kid just thinking about your wedding day and thinking about the memories of it? Did you start thinking about this when you were a little girl, or did you wait till
just recently?
Actually, I never did. Maybe just recently.
Okay, cool. So, and when you think about, you just said you want to make sure that you look good. So when you think about like getting your photos back, so here you are, you're getting your photos back, and if you weren't portrayed the way you want to be portrayed, how would you feel about that? And like, what else comes up for you, just so I know and understand better,
I would probably be pretty upset. I would.
Okay.
I wouldn't be
well,
very
obviously,
happy.
yeah. I'd be upset too. Okay, and what other, besides like having someone just follow you around and be in your face, which you obviously don't want, what other concerns do you have like around the day of? So forget about, the pictures for a second, but just the day of the wedding, like in regards to your photographer.
I'm making sure they got some of the really important moments and really captured a really good flavor of the event that we put together.
Okay, awesome. So capture the important moments and the flavor of the event. Okay, so I don't have time to go in, and obviously this is not my field, so I'm trying to find the right words, but I'm pausing here. But what I want to do is I want to create some pain around what it could possibly cost you if you go to someone else, okay? And I'm not doing the best job here. I'm trying to get a feel for it. But just think about the outcome here is that you want it in the pain side is like, what would it cost her? Because you've probably heard tons of stories, and there are other photographers who are way cheaper. And I might even tell a story. I might say, Marie, like there are a lot of photographers out there, and the fact that you're here means that you really want some high-level photography, because this is not just like point and shoot, follow you around and just try to, capture some photos. This is all about important moments and really capturing the flavor of the event, like you said. And so I understand that like you have some concerns about that, and it's awesome that you're coming here. I know I recently heard about a story like someone just hired they didn't hire me, and they hired some random person, and they actually got all these photos back where they didn't look good, and they hardly even captured the moments. I'm just trying to make up a story, okay?
Right,
so you can tell a story to
and they called me back for a redo, and this is true.
Exactly.
I give people letters too, and they still don't hire me. I'm like, what the hell?
So you got to create the pain, and so your industry better than I do, but that's where you're at with what made you curious. What are your frustrations, concerns, or challenges, depending on what your industry is or what you're doing exactly in that area. You kind of have to take the FCC, the frustrations, concerns, and challenges, and gear it more towards, getting to the end result of what their pain might be or what their concerns are. And then, I would go into magic wand, and I would say, so Marie, I know you don't want, your photographer to miss those important moments and not to capture the flavor of the event. And obviously you don't want to look bad and I'm going to just backtrack what they told me, and I would be writing it down. I just started to write things down, so I wasn't getting it all. So I'd be writing it down. I know you don't want that, but let's just think about what you do want. If you can wave a magic wand, Marie, how would you look, and what moments would you capture, and what would we get from that day?
Okay.
Just give me a few.
The first time he sees me walking down the aisle, some really great portraits that show a lot of emotion, and one that makes me look super awesome in a nice artistic setting.
Awesome. So here we are. We've captured all of this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to backtrack what you just said. Here we are. You're at your wedding. You're getting your photos back in the most amazing wedding. You had your space. No one was following you around, whatever. And how would that be? And then I would say, so is there anything else? If you really could paint that picture, like what else would it be like? Not to mention, because some people might want to follow, want you to follow them around, and some people might not. So getting all this information is having total clarity about what you can say to them to help them decide to work with you, and also how you can actually deliver on your promise and make it exactly what they want. So, I'm trying to keep bopping through. So then I would say, well, based on what you told me, Marie, it seems like this could be a really good fit. So I actually have 3 packages. It really just depends on what you want. I got package A for $5,800, and it includes X, Y, and Z. Package B is this, this, and this. Package C is that. And based on what you told me, it seems like the best fit for you would probably be B. So I have A, B, and C. But what do you think, if you were going to make the decision today, which package do you think would be best for you?
Probably B.
Okay, probably B. Okay, so and I know you might not be sure right now. So if they're like not wanting to make a decision, by the way, if they're like, oh, well, I'm not sure. I don't know. I wasn't planning on deciding today. Then you can just like take it off and be like, it's cool. And you don't have to decide. I just want to know if you were to decide today, what would it be, A, B, or C? Okay? Mm-hmm. B. Okay, great. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
Sorry, the dog was trying to get out. Okay, cool. And then going into the next step is just collecting a decision. So throughout that whole process, if you can build enough leverage, you can also go into, by the way, in the pain, you can also go into some of the pain around trying to find the right photographer and how it would be so annoying to like go, talk to 10 people, and you can build some pain around the decision of it. Because and then in the magic wand, it could be, well, what would it be like if you already knew, like, that you got your photographer set in, like, way in advance, and you already have the photographer, you don't have to worry about it anymore. How would that be? You can also try to put, seed in there. Like, Does that make sense? Like, how choosing today to work with you is less painful than having to go through, like, the hustle and bustle of finding a photographer.
Plus, if they wait, they might lose me.
Yeah, and then there's the pain of that. Okay, and then going into buy. Buy is just collecting a decision. So really, I would just assume the sale. So I would say, so they said B. So I said, okay, great. Sounds like B is going to be the most appropriate for you. So the best thing for us to do today is all you need to do is put down a deposit to secure your date. The deposit is $300. And I am available on June 17th or whatever it is, and I can definitely get that in. It's a $300 deposit, and that's just securing me as your photographer because there's only one of me, and even honestly that's a guaranteed, or that's a refundable deposit because I know you might want to think about it. I'm pretty confident that this is a fit, so that you're going to be happy with deciding to work with me. But it's totally cool. That's a refundable deposit, so there's no risk there. But that'll just secure your date. So would you rather pay by check, or would you like to leave your credit card, or give me your credit card?
Okay. I can give you my credit card, but can we send you a check by mail because I don't have my checkbook?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I can basically get all your credit card information down so that I know you're serious, because I can't hold the date if I don't have the information. But when would you want to send the check? That's cool.
I can send it out tomorrow.
Okay, so you send it out tomorrow. I'll hold your credit card. I won't charge it, but just so that I know that you're serious. And I just want to mention, what is really awesome about you deciding today. I also really want to give you some extra bonuses. So for deciding today, you're going to get X, Y, and Z, okay? And then I'm going to give them something like I don't know what your bonuses are, but you basically can give them a bonus. Or if they're on the fence, you can say, well, look, I understand that you're not 100% sure right now. This is a non-refundable deposit, so that's your guarantee. And in addition to that, when you decide today, you get this, 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 and this. And these things are so valuable because of this. And then you give some value around the bonuses. So I know we did that kind of quickly, but I wanted to give you guys a structure for it. When you all are thinking of your sales script, you really want to script it out, not necessarily word for word, but you want to understand what are the questions. I tried to come up with questions on the spot, not knowing your industry that well, but you know it better than I do. So everyone listening to this call, just think about what questions can I ask in the pain section and the pleasure section specifically that will get them into those areas that really my clients or potential clients really are concerned about. So you can write down questions that are more geared towards like probing and getting them to associate to that pain. So for example, as I mentioned for Marie, it's what are your potential concerns about your wedding? That's obvious, but if I went deeper into, what was an example that we said, just about what is your plan around deciding which photographer, and they go, I'm going to go to 8 photographers, and you can have some questions about that dig into the pain around actually finding a photographer that's more that you're actually crafting better. So one of the homework pieces I'm going to give you guys is to come up with your questions. Okay, so the questions in why. Let's just do your pain questions and your pleasure questions. So everybody on on Facebook, what you want to write down would be specific to your industry. So for Irene, you might say, what are your frustrations, concerns, and challenges around your business? Do you ever go into a room and you're not really sure how to project yourself or what to say to describe yourself? What would you say? Like, what is your fear? Like, when you're going to a networking event, what do you hate that happens? When someone asks you something, do you ever find that you're not really sure what to say? Like, what comes up for you? Or I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with some ideas. But think about what kind of questions you would ask, and then write those on Facebook, and we can all even comment and say, if it were me and I wanted my marketing plan and marketing strategy and knowing my elevator pitch, a question to ask me would be this, and we can all actually comment on that as well, so everybody can help each other out. Honey, you want to add in? I know you're making some changes on the sheet here. Want to chime in? He said he's coming off of mute here.
Yeah, here's what, so great interaction, ladies. That was awesome. I'm making some notes here. I'm Mr. Note guy oftentimes. And in line with the homework that you just mentioned, honey, what I thought would be a couple of good templates would be what we have right here. So my suggestion is, if you are looking at your computer screen, I added some ideas that you might be able to put in on the stages of the sale, so that you have a clear idea of your initial point of contact, whatever that is. If it's an ad, a call, or networking, then the next thing would be, what's the next stage? Like, you're going to set an appointment. Now, that appointment will be a cup of coffee, and you can do that over the phone, like virtual. You can do that face-to-face. I mean, I've done it more often than not. I do it on the phone now, because I can have a virtual cup of coffee and get to know someone and meet them and see if they want to have the next step would be the appointment for the strategy session, to have a real conversation with them about whether or not it's a fit. Then the next one would be, I'm going to keep having appointments with them. Like you were saying, Marie Pat, that you might not get the bridal sale in the first meeting. So that's fine. I mean, it'd be great if you did, but you just set up the next appointment, and you're going to go appointment until they either become your client or you get a referral or whatever. So I would recommend, as for homework, that you guys fill this in, and there might be a couple different variations for you depending on the way you're approaching your clients. But the cool part about this is, look at this. There's only a few stages of your sale. So if you ever get confused, like you mentioned on the, maybe you split up the cup of coffee, get to know you phase from a strategy call, then you just want to know what stage you're in. Like, I don't think I've ever seen where there's more than 5 stages of the sale. So you just want to know what stage you're in, and that your purpose is to move them to the next stage and nothing else. So then, as another part of the homework then, honey, just to fill in, is that on this Ultimate Sales Formula, what I would suggest you do is to write questions in each segment. And like when Robin was doing the example, she spent more of her time hopefully asking questions about pain and pleasure. But to be clear here, what you want to do is, instead of these pain question or frustration, you want to find the word that's for you. And also, Marie Pat, you were talking about, well, typically I would say this stuff about, hey, how are you doing? You'd get to know you, like simple pleasantries. But what I would challenge you to do, each of you, is in each of these 6 things, high, why, try, buy, guaranteed, and bonuses, fill in the blank. What are your bonuses? What is your try? What are your packages? Just fill it in. And remember, not making a decision, not deciding what you're going to say at each of these stages is still a decision. It's just you decided not to do it yet. So Robin had asked, what made you curious about coming today? And then she asked, in the example of the wedding planner, the wedding photography, she said, well, what would you like? Have you seen something that you like? Have you seen something that you were frustrated or concerned about? So you may not like that language explicitly, so you want to make sure you put it into yours. And the last, you got to be careful when you ask me for my opinion, honey, because I'll give it. The last thing I'll make mention of is that Robin and I have created, you might have heard us talk about the $300,000 Holy Grail, which is something that we refer to because in less than a year's period of time, this made us almost an extra $300,000 just by mastering these questions. And so what I would suggest you do in your homework, Robin, this is a follow-up on them writing this down, is that you write down the questions on a piece of paper that you can use as a checklist. And every single strategy session that I have with someone, I use this checklist. So I call it a strategy session checklist. And by the way, it started out looking like this. It was just high, Y, try, buy, guaranteed bonuses. But then as we started getting more specific, we actually we put in the exact language. And every time I have a consult now, I use this sheet. And as you can see, there's high, Y, try, buy. And I'm challenging each of you to come up with the words you want to say specifically and that you write them down on a piece of paper so that you don't mess it up. Because Robin and I are human and we mess up things all the time. Maybe you do too. And you can write some of this down, like what made you curious to take this appointment and work with me today is one of the questions we ask every time. And then another question, I know that this happens in photography all the time, and it can happen for a business client, is, if you're talking to a business owner, is whether or not the decision maker is in the room. And so this is a benchmark question. It's like, hey, assuming we were to work together, are you the only decision maker, or is there someone else you make decisions with? And you don't have to use that question. We're going to go into this in more, but anyway, my point is you want to come up with your questions. Robin mentioned the FCCs. What are your top frustrations, challenges, or concerns? So our challenge to you is to come up with at least something in each of the high, Y, try, buy, and guaranteed and bonuses segment. And this whole page for us is written with questions and things to remind us of what to ask and what to say at different points. And what we'll do on the next call is we'll follow up and work with you on making these better. But we can only do that if you give us some initial language to help us with, to start from. So if you write down the questions you want to ask at each stage, then that's the homework. Connie, anything to add?
Nope, I'm just starting to type it up on Facebook, so it's there already. So far I have to post what are your stages of the sale. An example is A, networking event, then go to B, a phone call, then you go to a cup of coffee, then you have a sales conversation, and then you get a contract or collect the money. Then the second one is what questions can you ask in each step of the Ultimate Sales Formula. So I'm just going to put the different steps so you guys can write hi, dash, and then you can write one question or a few questions depending on how far you want to take this. Why, you definitely want at least 2 questions because you want the pain and pleasure. Just writing that in. And then the third one you said was a checklist. So you want them to do the checklist as well, honey?
My recommendation, thank you for clarifying. So I don't mean that you have to have a checklist, but I recommend that you structure your questions in this format so that under each segment you have questions. What are you going to say? What is your offer? Whatever it is. And then I'm giving them an example because what you just did, Robin, is when you walk through that role-playing exercise, sometimes it might seem that you just have memorized all that stuff and that it's, I might think if I'm hearing that for the first time, I would never be able to, I would get lost and confused. I'm a very visual guy. And so what I recommend people do is use a paper checklist. You don't have to make one if you don't want to, but there's power in it. I mean, brain surgeons use a checklist. Airline pilots use a checklist. It's totally professional to use a checklist and to have the exact language written down so that you are turned professional. And then you make sure you don't leave this up to chance, but when you're having that client conversation, you go through the process. So it's kind of a glimpse into what I hope they have in the future if they're open to having a checklist, honey. Not that they have to make the whole thing.
Okay, so for right now, we'll stick with those two. What are the stages of the sale? And then 2 would be what questions can you ask in each step of the ultimate sales formula? And your goal really is to start formulating your script and your checklist around high, why, try, buy, guaranteed bonuses. So the more questions you ask, it doesn't have to be 20 in each category, but especially in why, I would advise or suggest that you guys have at least 5 pain questions and 5 pleasure questions. If you have 10, even better. But your goal is to probe and dig and just really try to get into the head of your client and when, what their real concerns are. You know your clients, you know what you've helped them avoid, and then start to think, what question can I ask so the potential client on the other end will tell me that they're concerned about those things that they're already concerned about. So instead of telling them, you end up asking them and they tell you. So that's the homework, those 2 things. I think that's plenty. Anything to add to close off? I know we're trying to stick to the hour and a half. We did pretty well here.
Well, just a framework that I think we're going to do calls that are going to be at least an hour and a half long, so we get a longer chance to more time with you, talking to you about this stuff so that you can improve. So rather than trying to do a call a few times in the middle of the day, just at the end of these calls moving forward for the next 4 or 5 weeks we're together, we're going to have a Q&A. They're going to be very interactive so that we can help you sculpt some things on the line. The last thing, honey, is you said that you might ask them to write down 5 questions about pain. I'm just going to outline on the screen here. For us, one of these questions is, what are your top frustrations, concerns, or challenges? And then we ask deeper questions. If you look at this sheet, what is this costing you? Emotional questions, like what will happen if you don't solve this? How long will you continue to run this pattern, or whatever? Those are examples of, 3 or 4 questions that we're digging deep to understand how they feel when it comes to their pain, and then we lighten it up and talk about what they want when it comes to pleasure. We talk about magic wand. Just as an example, honey, because I was a little confused, like, gosh, how would they know what to ask? You ask probing questions about how it makes them feel, good or bad. Back to you.
Any quick questions before we sign off? That's awesome, honey. Thank you.
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Was that, did you guys like that format so you got more interaction in there?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I like that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then how long will you leave the recording up so we can actually listen to that, right?
The recording actually, the playback is up for a couple days, but there's the link under that should be up. It should still be available. Someone else asked me that. So it's just because if we record over it using the same line, it's not available at the playback, but it should actually be available as a link. Isn't that right, honey?
Yeah, what I will do, we have a new website, and I apologize it's not done yet, but the modules will be up on the website, so we'll all of the videos and audios so that you'll be able to plug in and get them. For tonight, what I'll do is I'll email you the link to this recording so that you can have it. But in the future, this week, I believe, you'll be able to download it all on our little private site. So I have 2 fixes. One, you'll get the link. Soon you'll get you'll get 2 links. Tonight, the link to the recording.
And will it stay up more than 2 days, this one, or no?
You know what? So the way we're going to do it is the replay, like you won't be able to call in the replay line to hear it, but you will be able to download the audio so you can listen to it whenever you want.
Got it. Okay, yeah, because I need to memorize it. Okay.
Well, and let me give you, I'm going to share something on my screen here. Here we go. I think, no, that won't help. Here we go. what I will do is at the end of what I'll do is I'll send you the link, and when you go to watch the link, this will be the recording playback of our first session. There's a button right here that you can download the recording, and you get to choose whether or not you want to download it as a video or as an audio. So you get to choose, I believe.
Okay.
So you'll have that so that you can listen to it and get it right. And that'll be really cool when we're doing the future calls, so that when we write some of this stuff, like Robin said, some good stuff, then you'll have it to listen to again. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us and participating. And those of you who are listening on the recorded line, definitely use these examples to help you with your business. Post stuff on Facebook so that everybody can help each other and we can see your progress. And if you're not on our Facebook page yet, that means you probably haven't friended me. Please be my friend on Facebook, and then I'll add you to the group. So make sure you do that. If you, for some reason, don't have a Facebook and you don't like it, I would say create an alias Facebook just for this game, for this 5 weeks, and that way you can get on the forum and be part of it. You can always get rid of it later. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thanks. Thank you.
Welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later, everybody. Good job. Bye-bye.